Evangelii Gaudium. Chapter 1. The Church's Missionary Transformation. Summary. The mission Jesus never canceled. Jesus gave one mission that was never meant to expire. Go. Make disciples. Bring the gospel to everyone. Not just priests. Not just missionaries. Everyone. The church does not exist to stay comfortable. It exists to move. Because Christianity was never meant to be a safe zone. It was always meant to be a rescue mission. 1. A church which goes forth. From the beginning, God has always called people to move. Abraham was told to leave everything. Moses was told to lead people into the unknown. Jeremiah was told to speak even when afraid. And today, that same call is directed to us. Leave your comfort zone. Faith that never moves becomes faith that slowly dies. Pope Francis reminds us. The church must not wait for people to come. The church must go where people are hurting. To the forgotten. To the lonely. To the confused. To those searching for meaning. Because the gospel is not private property. It is good news meant for everyone. The joy that proves faith is alive. How do we know when faith is real? Joy. When the disciples returned from mission, they were filled with joy. When the apostles preached, people experienced joy. Because real evangelization does not spread fear. It spreads hope. The church grows not by pressure, but by attraction. People are drawn not by arguments alone, but by seeing lives transformed. What a missionary church actually looks like. Pope Francis describes 5 surprising characteristics. A missionary church takes the first step, gets involved in people's lives, walks patiently with people, bears fruit over time, rejoices even in small victories. It is not distant. It smells like the people it serves. It does not act superior. It serves. It does not rush results. It trusts God's timing. And most importantly, it never loses joy. Because a joyless Christianity becomes obligation. But joyful Christianity becomes contagious. 2. The church must change, or become irrelevant. This chapter contains a shocking statement. Mere administration is no longer enough. In other words, the church cannot just maintain structures. It must rediscover mission. Programs alone cannot save faith. Structures alone cannot renew the church. Only spiritual renewal can. Because without new life inside, even perfect structures become empty. The dangerous trap. We have always done it this way. One of the biggest enemies of mission is this sentence. We have always done it this way. Pope Francis calls the church to courage. Be bold. Be creative. Be missionary. Not to change the truth, but to bring the truth to today's world. Because methods can change. The gospel does not. The parish, outdated or essential? Many think the parish is outdated. But Pope Francis says, a parish becomes useless only when it stops adapting. A living parish becomes a home for the searching, a hospital for the wounded, a school of faith, a center of mission. The goal is simple. Not maintenance. Mission. 3. The heart of the gospel, most important insight. Here is one of the most powerful ideas in the chapter. Not all teachings have the same weight. The center of Christianity is not rules. It is not debates. It is not secondary issues. It is the love of God revealed in Jesus Christ. If we forget this, we risk presenting Christianity as rules without relationship, morality without mercy, truth without love, and people stop listening. Because the heart of Christianity is not follow rules. It is you are loved. You are saved. You are invited. The real priority most people miss. What matters most? St. Thomas Aquinas gives the answer. The greatest virtue is mercy. Because mercy reflects God most clearly. This changes everything. It means Christianity is not mainly about avoiding sin. It is about learning how to love. 4. A mission within human limits. The Church must also remember something important. People grow slowly. Conversion is a journey, not a switch. People carry fear, wounds, habits, confusion, and God works patiently. So the Church must also be patient. Because sometimes a small step toward God is greater than a perfect appearance without struggle. God looks at direction, not just speed. 5. A mother with an open heart. The Church must not become a closed club. It must become a home. A church with closed doors forgets its purpose. Pope Francis gives a powerful image. The Church is not a toll booth. It is a Father's house. And in a real home, there is space for the weak, space for the struggling, space for the imperfect. Because the Eucharist is not a reward for the perfect. It is medicine for the weak. Where the Church must go first, a radical reminder. If the Church must go to everyone, who comes first? The Gospel answers clearly. The poor, the suffering, the forgotten. Not because they are better, but because they are often ignored. Pope Francis says something unforgettable. Faith and care for the poor cannot be separated. If we forget the poor, we forget Christ. The final challenge, the line that stays with you. Pope Francis ends with a challenge that sounds almost uncomfortable. He says he prefers a church that is wounded from being in the streets, rather than a church that is sick from staying safe. Because the real danger is not making mistakes while serving. The real danger is doing nothing. The greatest tragedy is not failure. It is comfort without mission. Final takeaway. This chapter asks one uncomfortable question. Are we a church that goes out? Or a church that stays safe? Because the gospel was never meant to stay inside buildings. It was meant to reach broken hearts. And maybe the real question of chapter 1 is this. Are we protecting our comfort? Or continuing Christ's mission?